Hello and welcome to the Airship Cosmos studio, hosted today at Thales in Paris. Thanks to Thales for having us, and we're pleased to welcome Martin Bocken. Hello.
Hello, Xavier Titleman.
You are the manager at Highlight, that's right.
Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Highlight.
The goal is to create something lighter and clearer to replace helicopters and much of what we've used so far.
Actually, at Highlight, our mission is to decarbonize aerial inspection. We're developing a solution to more precisely inspect critical infrastructure like power lines and gas networks.
How do we monitor infrastructures today?
Well, there are different options, but none of them really meet the needs. Helicopters are now used 80% of the time. A helicopter is good for transporting passengers, carrying equipment, but transporting a 1-kilogram camera isn't necessarily the most efficient use of a helicopter. You have 3 people. It's manual with fairly manual observations, and also in the end a lot of carbon monoxide, 2 emissions. Thank you, and also very high costs. What other solutions are available? So there are satellites which are very far away and therefore not precise enough. They will operate with up to 20-centimeter precision. And then there are drones and ground teams, which are interesting, but they don't have the ability to inspect on a large scale, because a drone can only fly for 30 minutes, and if you fly it, you have to be nearby. So in one day, you can only inspect about 10 to 30 kilometers. The networks are huge. For example, Enedis has 1.5 million kilometers of power lines in France, the same as the road network. It's pretty crazy.
So, does that mean you're currently working, for example, with power operators to offer a system that will fly over automatically? Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Is it a small word? On this channel, we often discuss innovations and showcase future aviation and defense highlights. This kind of company could become a small and medium-sized enterprise with proper support. The issue is that these entrepreneurs lack the funds to grow and reach critical mass. A few months ago, I signed a petition for a support fund for defense companies. The good news is the fund is now available. Today, I have a partner, Freedom 24, who is perfect for helping you contribute to the success of French companies. It's a top investment company, as they're part of a group listed on the Nasdaq. They've operated in Europe for 10 years, fully comply with regulations, and have earned the trust of over 500,000 individual investors. Freedom 24 offers access to over 15 global markets and more than 1 million financial instruments, giving them an unmatched product range. Like stocks from European or North American exchanges, treasury bonds, or exchange-traded fund S, an exchange-traded fund is a group of stocks that matches an index's performance. For example, you can pick a country such as the United States or Thailand, or a sector like energy, defense, aerospace, or pharmaceuticals. The Freedom 24 app also provides investment ideas, analysis tools, and training to help you invest confidently. So you can start by creating a free account on Freedom 24, and when you feel more comfortable, you can make the money sitting in your checking account or in a savings account doubly useful by boosting the economy and earning your own income. Also, right now, by depositing at least 1,000 euros into your account, there's a special offer that lets you receive up to 20 free shares. So follow the link in the video comments to give it a try. Every investment has risks, but it can also bring returns, which we hope for you. Now let's return to our young, innovative company. Are you working on sensors too, or just focusing on aeronautics?
So we focus on the platform for data collection and the one that delivers precise, analyzed data. As for the sensors, we usually integrate them because there are many companies that make sensors, and we choose to integrate the best sensor on the market. For inspection, how does it work? We have a drone, a steerable drone, so thanks to helium, it floats in the air, which allows it to fly longer. 10 hours of autonomy, and we fly completely autonomously over the networks. And in one flight, we can cover 100, 200.
300 kilometers in 24 hours?
Yes, in a day, okay?
It's still very relevant compared to others and costs less. When you look at the international level, you can see that there is still a multiplication of drone operators. It's still amazing to have radar carriers in Israel, even at low altitude. Previously, you needed telescopic masts, which was complicated. In southern France, we see forest fires and flying whales, for example. Are these solutions ultimately complementary?
On that, I think the answer is yes. Then the question to ask is, why has the drone been around for about 10 years? Why do we still use manned options like planes and helicopters to inspect networks today? The answer is that current solutions aren't suitable for large-scale linear inspection. So the drone is very effective for precise inspections of a building, for transport needs, for example, for medicines or important items. But for aerial inspection, our belief is that there is something better to do. That's why we launched Highlight with a dirigible drone. There are similar projects worldwide, one in Finland, 5 in Germany, one in Italy, one in Spain, and one in the United States. We've made significant contributions. The goal is to better understand the networks to maintain them more effectively.
Where are you now in your development? Is it still just a PowerPoint or is it gaining momentum?
So, we took a very fast approach in iterating the product. We launched the company 3 years ago. We were accelerated by several programs, including the prestigious Berkeley Y Combinator Accelerator in the startup world. For the past 3 years, we've made 12 versions of the product each time. It was an iteration, so today we control an extremely fast iteration cycle with improvements that we release. So basically, there's a new product coming out every 3 months. Thanks to that, we signed contracts with French operators Natran, Enedis, and Société Nationale des Chemins de Fer Français to inspect their networks and replace their systems, and also to try to help them pollute less while having higher quality data.
Knowing that Société Nationale des Chemins de Fer Français is used to this kind of thing, but it's more for safety observation, where they have drones with fixed wings, specifically for aerial work, so they're already used to that, so there's really a complementarity. Moving quickly for safety, you notice different things than when observing infrastructures. But if we look now at this ability to produce quickly, well, I'm very involved in the startup world, but usually they tell me we need 3 months to be able to run a test. Since there are no obstacles on that side administratively.
So the question is, it's about regulations. That's the biggest obstacle that drone operators have faced and still face today when operating. That's why many people are turning to defense, since it no longer has regulatory constraints. When you're on the front line, there are fewer, indeed fewer, that's true, but there are still some. The approach of the Highlight technology, thanks to its great buoyancy and its large size, 12 meters long, 2 meters wide, we actually face much less regulatory risk than currently exists. Why? For air traffic controllers, they can much more easily see the highlighter, and so it integrates more easily into the airspace. But also, in case there's a problem with the device, the ground risk, the physical risk of injuring or killing someone is almost minimal. Because we float in the air, we come down gently like an airbag or a balloon.
But still, there's something that surprises me. Every time I talk with startups, they tell me, but for us, it takes us 6 months to get the approvals to do a flight. Do you have shortcuts? How does it work then?
There are no shortcuts, that's all. It's been almost 2 years now that we've been working hand in hand with the Direction Générale de l'Aviation Civile, both at the French and European levels, to validate the technology. So, these are the steps we follow. First, an initial authorization, then a second, a third, and then a general authorization that allows us to fly within a specific framework in France and Europe. And so the interesting approach is the Highlight approach. It's thanks to the technology, which is more visible and lighter and therefore less risky. We'll get authorizations more easily than with other drones or flying wings.
But how many weeks does it take to get the authorization to fly?
Today we're discussing a time frame of just a few weeks. The shortest we've done was 7 days.
Okay.
About the permits. Now when it's running, it's more or less a month.
In Italy, it's a day, a month, it takes a long time. I heard that you were also at the Bretigny-sur-Orge base. What are you doing there?
It's this base that allows us to quickly test and validate the technology. We're at base 217, managed by the Systematic Hub. And it's thanks to them in particular that we have this airspace which is reserved, which is segregated. For drone companies like ours, testing technology and validating things like engine cutoff systems, high winds, and emergency systems is important.
Assuming it's operational and supplying the world, do you have a V2, for example? A few years ago at Pontoise Airport, passenger transport was mostly for leisure. Are increasing size, volume, and weight things that you're planning for?
So we're not necessarily looking to increase the size, but more to improve performance. Within this size, still limited to 12 meters long and 2 meters wide, that allows it to fit into a container, which is the standard size, so it can be moved very easily to any operation site. Today, we can operate anywhere in Europe in a day because we go beyond the container. It takes between 5 and 12 hours, and then we can launch the aerolator into the air and inspect the aerolator. And all of this while controlling it. From Paris, specifically Bretigny-sur-Orge, since our control center there manages all aerolators operating across Europe.
And beyond the infrastructures, I suppose there's oil and gas, for example. I know that countries like Algeria have research needs and border surveillance.
We've discussed energy infrastructures like power lines, but there are also gas networks and pipelines. In France, there are 32,000 kilometers of large pipelines and 200,000 kilometers of smaller ones. Unfortunately, these networks leak globally. Leaks cause 4% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is significant and a major loss. These methane leaks are gas that can't be used for heating or cooking, causing about $10 billion in losses each year. It's staggering. By detecting leaks, we can seal them and reduce emissions and losses.
As an aviator, I'm also concerned about monitoring the seas due to the high level of drug trafficking. This will involve small drones launched by commercial ships or flying directly across the Mediterranean, as well as all migrant-related issues. Do you work on safety and security too?
We've heard about those issues too, but right now we're focusing on inspecting energy networks, since that's where the problem is urgent. But it's true that in the future, those issues are there. For us, the challenge is that we're creating a platform to better understand our ecosystems, to better understand our world, and to better protect it. And it's certain that when we talk about these topics, they're crucial issues, and having a solution that floats in the air for hours and hours to get an aerial view of what's happening, that's relevant. I'm also considering post-conflict periods, especially in Ukraine, where mines cover about 20% of the land. The east is huge, and currently there is no solution to identify these mines and clear them without putting people on the ground in danger. So that's also something we're looking at.
So you are a carrier?
A carrier of solutions, payloads, sensors that fly over networks at a very low cost. Our ecosystems, our society, to make sure we monitor it well, manage it well, and preserve it well.
All of this reminds me a bit of New Space, with the ability through satellites to track things like epidemics, agriculture, and ecology. In the end, we're just changing the sensor.
Sometimes I say we're like a satellite 30 meters above the ground, but that's basically it. The idea is really to bring this new layer of knowledge that we don't get from satellites because they're too far away. We'll achieve that with Highlight, a solution operating close to the networks.
Your latest news, upcoming projects, and fundraising rounds.
Right now, we've actually released a new product, so a so-called V2 of the Highlighter, which is twice as efficient and delivers real performance. Notably, it flies much longer and is more precise.
What do we mean by much longer?
Here, we've basically gone from 4 hours to 8 hours of flight time, so we've doubled it, so to speak.
With the same payload and electric capacity?
Payload and a greater ability to counter the wind, so we've gone from a maximum wind speed of 30 km/h to 50.
Okay, excellent.
Here we're working with an operational concept that's quite robust, precisely so we can fly for a lot of time throughout the year.
And for export?
And for export, of course. Right now, we're talking with many operators in Europe to inspect networks, because networks are the same all over the world and they need to be inspected. And unfortunately, all over the world, it's headphones that are being used. I think headphones can do things that have much higher value for them. Same goes for transportation and rescue. That's it. And then there's also the issue of network monitoring, surveillance, because the world is indeed under tension. And so there are issues to make sure that energy networks, which are the heart of our societies, are safe and healthy.
Everything inside is French? Everything is French?
Nearly everything from design to operation is French. Afterwards, there are some components that aren't made in France, because sometimes we don't have the expertise or the capacity to make them. Extremely. Well, the best component, so yes, we already outsource in Europe, and then...
But the assembly is done here?
Assembly is done here, while major strategic components and design come from France.
Well, congratulations, Highlight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.